I first bought Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu on launch day. I enjoyed it for a bit and I made quick work of Brock's gym in Peter City, but I found myself distracted by other games and I ended up shoving Let's Go Pikachu for almost an entire year. About a week ago, I found myself getting really excited for the Generation 8 of the Pokemon games. I had read a lot about Sword and Shield and the controversies that surrounded, these two games on Reddit. Specifically, I saw a ton of people who were just outraged regarding the limited functionality of the National Dex, and as some are calling it, Dexit, as well as the fans being reasonably upset about the sloppy looking animations and the low quality textures throughout what gameplay we have seen officially. Well, I'm not going to get into it here. There's a great video by King Kaiser that I'll link below regarding Game Freak and their upcoming games. Despite all the controversy, I couldn't help but get excited about the new games. The last one that I purchased and beat was Ruby for the Game Boy Advance. As I grew up, I found myself moving away from the Pokemon games and towards the more mature and gritty games that I thought that I should be playing instead of the childish Pokemon games. In the following years, I found myself moving on to games like World of Warcraft, Fable, and Halo. And this left me with an ever-widening gap in my knowledge of the Pokemon that were just continuously being released to every new generation, leaving me further and further behind. So as you watch this video, keep in mind that I'm not a hardcore Pokemon aficionado, and I'm bound to share some opinions that others just won't like. Moving on. Fast forward until now, and I find myself with the time to finally re-engage with the Pokemon franchise, and I don't care anymore what people feel like I should be playing. Instead, I'm just going to play the games that I want. With the development of Sword and Shield moving along and the release date coming up this November, I once again found the joy and excitement that the Pokemon franchise can bring. So I went over to my shelf, I pulled off my copy of Let's Go Pikachu, I dusted it off, and I got to work defeating the gym leaders and developing my team of monsters as I worked my way towards the Elite Four. No more than a week later, and I had beat the game. As I played, I found myself reminiscing about my time playing Pokemon Red and Blue as a kid, and I really enjoyed my time in Kanto a ton. While some people hate the graphics in the Let's Go games, I really like them. They feel like the next logical step, coming from the 3D graphics in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. These honestly just look like a higher resolution version of those graphics, and I think it works well. In a way, I suppose that the love-hate split about the graphics reminds me of the GameCube days when the Wind Waker was released, and people were outraged by the cartoony, cel-shaded art style. Either way, I thought it was beautiful and an excellent way to have high-definition graphics that the Switch could actually render. What I did not enjoy is the control scheme, the caching mechanisms, and the paywall-locked content. So I'm just going to go over each of those right now. The controls in handheld mode were fine, and that's how I played about 95% of the game. Every time that I docked the console though, when I was trying to play at my computer or over at my TV, I got really pissed off that I couldn't use my Switch Pro controller, or even just the same two Joy-Cons that I had been playing with in handheld mode. Like, they don't let you use the same controls handheld and docked, and that's just dumb. When you're docked, you're limited to only a single Joy-Con, and if you try to use a Pro controller, it simply doesn't work at all. You can't even use it to get to the home page or take a screenshot, which if you want to do docked, you have to choose which functionality you want. If you play with the left Joy-Con, you can take screenshots and the movement feels better because the movement in most 3D games is typically done with the left joystick on a controller. However, you're then unable to put the console to sleep with the home button, as well as get to the home screen, since that is on the right Joy-Con, and you're only allowed to use one of the two. So you better make sure that you choose wisely, because there are some really cool animations and cutscenes that you're probably going to want to save, but you may not be able to at all if you're using the wrong Joy-Con. All of this just feels like a really stupid cash grab, and it's a good way to annoy people, probably in hopes to get us to buy the Pokeball Plus that they bundled with the $100 copy of the game, or sold separately for $50 freaking dollars. It's a plastic little Pokeball. It's outrageous, and it is a source of my frustration with the paywall locked content. You see, the only way to get Mew is to buy the Pokeball Plus, and ultimately what ended up happening is stores like Target and Best Buy saw loads of sales of the $100 copy of the game that came with the Pokeball controller, just so people could use the ball to get Mew, and then they would package it back up, return the entire bundle, and buy the regular $60 version of the game. They would still have Mew. The code would be used on the Pokeball Plus. There's a lot of people getting pissed off about it. It was just done. So if you didn't know until after you bought the game that you couldn't get Mew, and you really, really wanted Mew, you would then have to buy the $50 controller, and after buying the $60 game, for a total of $110 just to get Mew. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. The caching mechanism. I understand that the Let's Go games are supposed to be similar in nature to the Pokemon Go game for Android and iOS, and I actually really enjoyed the caching system that is used in those games. However, in the transition from mobile phone to console, I feel like they just lost what made the Pokemon Go system work. You see, for those like 3 people out there who haven't played Pokemon Go yet, the caching system works like this. You see a Pokemon, and you use your finger, and you swipe a ball towards them. And that's it. Depending on where you hit on the circle, as it gets closer and closer around the Pokemon, there's an increased chance of like successfully catching the Pokemon. It worked well, and it was easy to repeatedly replicate a good throw. However, in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, the catching system changes depending on how you are playing the game. If you're playing in handheld mode, where you are holding a 6.2-inch touchscreen in your hands, you don't swipe your finger like you do in Pokemon Go. No, that would make too much sense. Instead, you move your entire Switch like this, using its internal gyroscope to position the center of your screen over the Pokemon, and then you press A to send the Pokeball, and hope to God that you would actually line up the center of the screen, since there is no, crosshair or marker or anything. And then you also pray that the Pokemon didn't move around like a damn bouncy ball. This system is frustrating, but manageable after a while, and I did end up getting decent at it. However, the main reason that I almost never played docked was not the stupid single Joy-Con controls that locked you out of your $60 Pro controller. It was the caching system when docked. Now, perhaps I just suck ass at this game, and that's pretty likely, but I cannot understand how this is supposed to work when docked. See, you hold the Joy-Con, and you hit ready, just like you do in portable mode. But now you have to waggle your Joy-Con around to throw the Pokeball like some 2000s, Wii arcade game. Except somehow it works maybe even less than that. Maybe 1 in 4 Pokeballs that I would throw would actually go in the direction that I was trying to throw it in. Usually, even after deliberately holding the Joy-Con flat, resting my elbow on a table and pivoting my arm perfectly straight, it would just go straight left or straight right, basically anywhere in any direction except for where the Pokemon was. I got so pissed off that I went to Google and YouTube to see if I was the only one having this problem, and lo and behold, I was definitely not the only one. Some people said that they found greater success, aka it would actually work for them if they held the controller straight out and then hit ready, and then if the Pokemon was to your left, you would just fling it left. You wouldn't do the throw that it shows you to do on screen. I don't know. This kind of worked, but there's no granularity or precision with this Joy-Con waggling method, and it just sucks. I wasted so many great balls trying to get this system to work, and it just doesn't. For me, at least. I don't know. But that's not all, because once you're finally lucky enough to throw a Pokeball that actually hits the Pokemon, even with an Ultra Ball and an Excellent, there is still a good chance that it won't be successful, meaning that you gotta fling a half a dozen more Pokeballs just to catch a freaking Rhydon. Never mind. Maybe I suck, and maybe my Joy-Cons suck, but I really miss the good old days of just beating up a Pokemon until it was near 0 HP, going to my item submenu, and selecting which Pokeball I wanted to throw at the damn thing. It worked well, even with a success rate that varied by each Pokemon, just like in this game. But no, they changed it. Let's Go took a system that worked and made it convoluted and crappy, and changed it for each way that you can play. Rant over. Despite all of that, I really, really like this game. It was awesome to run into Blue, who was the rival from the first gen games, as well as Red, who you actually played as in those games, and Green, who is the trainer from the manga. That was really, really cool, especially since Blue wasn't actually a douchebag in this game like he was in the old days. Good character growth, Finding legendary Pokemon like Moltres, Articuno, and Zapdos was really exciting and rewarding. I found Moltres and Articuno in caves where the Pokemon are like big and awesome looking and like, you know, they're bigger than you are. And that was cool. And Zapdos was found in the heart of the power plant. And the same thing, life size. It was awesome. Mewtwo I found in the Cerulean Cave. And depending on your level and team, that can be a pretty tough fight. Overall, the music in the game is great. And it ran overall really, really well with very few slowdowns, except for like this one spot where there was just like a ton of bushes and like for some reason it, you know, just tanked the frame rate. It was weird. I like that they added some fun customization options for your player character as well as your companion, whether it's, you know, Pikachu or Eevee, as well as the option to play with your companion too. I never did because I'm a cold-hearted bastard, but you have the option. I didn't mind the change away from the wild Pokemon battles, though I would have enjoyed the opportunity to grind levels without catching 300 Pidgeys, because that is just silly. After beating the game, I did find myself pretty uninterested in finishing the Pokedex. Since the games are not able to connect to the Pokemon Bank, it is unlikely that any Pokemon that we collect in these games will ever make it out into other games, which was just truly disheartening to find out. Whether you finish your Pokedex or not though, the game was worth the $60 price tag in my opinion. My playthrough lasted just shy of 30 hours at 29 hours and 37 minutes, and I only collected 93 Pokemon, so that playtime can skyrocket depending on how dedicated you are as a completionist and whether or not you want the lowland versions as well as shinies. So the games can be found brand new on eBay for only 40 bucks, which is a pretty great deal considering how much time you can invest in this gorgeous game and how easy it is to lose track of time and just enjoy yourself playing. My favorite thing about the Pokemon Let's Go games has been my renewed interest in the Pokemon franchise. Pokemon was a very big deal as a kid when I was growing up, as it probably was for, you know, most of you who are watching this. I collected Pokemon cards, I played the games on my Game Boy Color, my Game Boy Advance, and I watched the anime. One of my strongest memories as a kid was watching episode 11 of the first season of the anime, where a Charmander's tail flame like nearly goes out, and Ash has to, you know, rush to save it from dying in the rain. I remember just bawling my eyes out, hoping that the cute little fiery dragon guy would live. Since the Let's Go games have come out, I have seen not just my own interest in the franchise rekindled, but the interest of my older brother, his fiance, and as well as his best friend. Also, my oldest brother is once again playing Pokemon, and that's really cool to see. And we're all really excited about, you know, playing the next games and exploring what world it offers. We've started to plan which starter Pokemon we are going to choose and level up, and many of us are actually following the press releases to see what new info is provided about Generation 8. All of this started because we were given the opportunity to, you know, re-experience the Pokemon games that we grew up with in a new and like really, really beautiful way. While I don't believe that reviews based on a 1 through 5 or 1 through 10 system work well, I will say that if you enjoy Pokemon and you haven't played the Let's Go games yet, I think you should really give it a chance. Despite a few arguably big flaws, the game is really, really fun, and it's always nice to see some old friends like Brock, Misty, and Professor Oak. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned for other game and hardware reviews and discussions. I'll see you in the next one.